Don't you dare look at me like that! After what you've done, you think you can stand there and play innocent?
I don't know what you're
Don't
talking
lie
about,
to me!
ma'am.
You were in my room. You touched what wasn't yours.
I swear
I forgot one more word in your...
Put that down! The billionaire's voice thundered through the marble hall, echoing off the chandeliers. His hand shook as he held up the gold pendant. "This is my daughter's pendant," he shouted, eyes blazing at the black maid standing frozen before him. Gasps rippled through the staff as silence swallowed the room. Amara's heart raced. Confusion, fear, disbelief colliding all at once. She hadn't even touched it. But in that moment, no one cared about the truth. What she didn't know was that this accusation would expose far more than a missing pendant. This is the story of the maid who shattered silence. Comment your city below. It was a Monday morning in the heart of New York City. The sun glimmered off the glass towers, spilling light into the polished marble floors of the Lexington estate, home of billionaire entrepreneur Richard Lexington. To most, it was a palace of perfection, pristine halls, immaculate gardens, and the quiet hum of wealth in every corner. But deep inside those walls, another story lived, one that no luxury could ever silence. Amara Johnson moved quietly through the corridors. Her black uniform pressed, her hair tied neatly beneath a scarf. She had worked in the Lexington household for 4 years, raising her own daughter, Lila, with every dollar she earned from cleaning rooms that would never be hers. Amara was proud, humble, and resilient, the kind of woman who smiled through exhaustion because she had to. Every morning she polished silver that reflected her face, a face often ignored by those who passed her. To the Lexingtons, she was the maid, nothing more. But to Lila, she was a hero, the woman who read bedtime stories after 12-hour shifts, who taught her to pray before every meal, and who told her that kindness mattered more than money ever could. That morning, something felt different. As Amara arranged the dining table, she noticed a faint tension in the air. Voices upstairs were louder than usual. Doors slammed. A pendant, a small gold locket with a heart-shaped center, sat on the counter glinting under the morning sun. Amara paused, recognizing the design immediately. It looked just like one her daughter had, the one she'd gifted Lila years ago before everything changed. A strange chill ran through her. She didn't know yet that this pendant, this tiny piece of gold, would soon unravel everything, her job, her dignity, and the thin line separating truth from accusation. Something was coming. And when it did, no one in that mansion would ever be the same again. The day had started like any other. Silver trays gleaming, coffee poured just the way Mr. Lexington liked it, silence thick as glass. But beneath that calm, tension pulsed like a heartbeat. By noon, the entire household was restless. The billionaire's wife, Eleanor Lexington, moved through the rooms in a storm of perfume and suspicion. Her daughter's pendant, a family heirloom, had gone missing. It wasn't just any piece of jewelry. It had belonged to generations of Lexington women, each one passing it down as a symbol of legacy. To lose it was unthinkable, servants whispered in corners. The security team was called. Bags were checked. Amara stayed quiet, clutching her cleaning rag, her heart pounding against her ribs. She knew how these things went. She had seen it before. When something went missing, eyes always turned the same way. By afternoon, the house had become a stage. The billionaire himself had returned early, fury carved into every line of his face. He was a man used to control, used to getting answers. He wanted someone to blame. The staff gathered in the grand living room, lined like suspects in a quiet courtroom. Mr. Lexington's voice echoed through the marble halls. "Whoever took my daughter's pendant has one chance to confess," he said. No one moved. Amara's gaze dropped to the floor, to her worn shoes, to the faint scratches on the tiles she had scrubbed countless times. Her hands trembled as the head butler stepped forward with a small velvet pouch. Inside, to her horror, was the missing pendant. It had been found in her cleaning cart. The room froze. Eleanor gasped. Someone whispered. Mr. Lexington's face went red with rage. "This is my daughter's pendant," he shouted, holding it up. "How dare you?" Amara couldn't speak. The words caught in her throat like thorns. She knew she hadn't touched it. She had barely even noticed it that morning. But the looks on their faces told her that truth didn't matter here. Security escorted her out of the living room. The walls that once echoed with her careful footsteps now swallowed her in silence. She heard her co-workers murmuring behind her, afraid to meet her eyes. That night, she sat alone in her small apartment, Lila asleep in the next room. The city lights blinked through the window like cold stars. Her phone buzzed with messages, gossip spreading faster than she could breathe. She thought about how quickly years of hard work could vanish with a single accusation. But deep inside, something else stirred. Not fear this time, but a quiet resolve. Because as she looked at her daughter's pendant, the real one, lying safely on the bedside table, Amara realized the truth ran deeper than anyone dared to imagine. Someone had planted that pendant. And she intended to find out who, no matter what it cost. 2 days later, the Lexington mansion buzzed with reporters, flashing cameras, and the hum of scandal. The news had already broken. Billionaire's maid steals family heirloom. Amara's name was everywhere, dragged, doubted, dissected. She hadn't left her apartment since, but that morning something changed. A knock echoed on her door. It was Detective Harris, holding a small evidence bag. Inside it was a photo, security footage from the mansion. Her pulse raced. In the footage, a figure could be seen near her cart, moments before the pendant was discovered. But it wasn't her. It was Eleanor Lexington's personal assistant, adjusting something, glancing around nervously. The truth slammed into Amara like a wave. She hadn't imagined it. Someone had framed her. Minutes later, she walked back into the Lexington home, head held high, escorted by the detective. The billionaire turned, his expression hardening, until the footage played. Silence filled the room. The assistant's face went pale. Eleanor's eyes widened. And Richard Lexington, the man who had shouted at her, humiliated her, stripped her of her dignity, stood frozen, guilt pooling in his eyes. The truth was undeniable now. Amara didn't cry. She didn't shout. She simply stood there, tall and unshaken, as justice finally caught up with privilege. In that moment, she wasn't the maid anymore. She was the woman who exposed a lie and forced a billionaire to face his own reflection. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. The following week, the Lexington mansion was quieter than ever. No reporters, no flashing cameras, just the heavy silence of shame. Richard Lexington issued a public apology, a statement crafted by lawyers but empty of genuine remorse. Yet for Amara, it wasn't about words anymore. It was about reclaiming what had been stolen from her, her dignity. She didn't return to the mansion. She refused the compensation they offered. Instead, she started a foundation, Hands of Hope, dedicated to helping domestic workers who had faced false accusations and racial discrimination. The same world that once silenced her now listened. Slowly, her story spread beyond the scandal, becoming a symbol of quiet resistance against injustice. Lila, watching her mother on the evening news, smiled for the first time in weeks. "You did it, Mama," she whispered. And Amara, holding her daughter's small hand, finally allowed herself to breathe. She knew that for every woman like her who had been accused, ignored or degraded, there were thousands more still unseen. But maybe now, they would find courage, not in wealth or power, but in truth. As the city lights flickered across her window once again, Amara thought of that pendant, once a symbol of accusation, now a reminder of resilience, because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't revenge at all. It's standing tall when the world expects you to bow. How many more lives must be broken before justice becomes instinct, not apology? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories like this one.